Before the British rule in India, Indian villages enjoyed a considerable amount of autonomy from the higher level of the political system. This was because of the poor communication facilities and the lack of road connectivity. Kings allowed villages to govern themselves in day-to-day matters. Village panchayats used to settle disputes and maintain law and order in the villages. In the early 19th century, British administrators described Indian villages as little republics. They think that Indian villages have a simple form of government and are economically self-sufficient units. Villages of India have to give a share of produce to the king and need to send their young men to serve in the wars. Other than these two restrictions, Indian villages have no interference from the higher levels of political authority, and they are unconcerned about who is ruling them. However, it is incorrect to say that Indian villages are little republics. Even before British rule, the relationship between the king and the villages was complex. Villagers are actually concerned about who sat on the throne. They preferred a king who would protect them from criminals. In times of crisis, king's caste fellows used to help him. If the king tried to oppress his subjects, villages used to rebel against him and would support his rival to take over the throne. They also used collective fight as a protest against oppression. It is also wrong to say that villages are completely independent and disconnected from the neighboring villages. There was an exchange of goods and produce between villages. There were also kinship ties in between the villages, especially because of the exogamy practiced by the North Indian villages. The caste system also played a major role in the relationship between the villages. Kings in pre-British India performed several duties towards their subjects. They built canals and tanks for irrigation and roads for transportation. Kings were also actively participated in solving disputes and in gifting the lands to priests. After the Britishers started governing India, they improved the communication facilities and established administration in villages. Revenue officials and police were appointed in villages. They also established law courts and implemented uniform laws throughout British India. This reduced the power of villages and their panchayats but increased the integration of Indian villages into the wider society. After independence, democracy and the universal adult franchise allowed villages to elect members to the panchayats as well as the members of higher levels of the government. This enabled the villages to take part in state affairs, bringing them into the mainstream. Indian villages have been a part of the wider society and their role in state affairs is increasing. Hence, it is incorrect to treat Indian villages as little republics.